Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Harvey Yergin with Simple Solutions Real Estate here in Columbus, Ohio. We are a home investors franchise. Starting a new series here called Beers in Business. Today we are featuring the Camp IPA. That's a new IPA from Rockmill. And we have Sean Grabow of Central City Solutions and Invest in 614, also a big-time real estate investor here in Columbus, Ohio. We talk about his KPIs, we talk about his guidance for hiring, and we talk about acquisition strategies and some really interesting stuff on creative financing, including owner financing. I think he said he's done maybe 15 deals just this year on owner financing with 0% interest. So stick around and get that good info. And thanks for joining us. Sean, we're here with our Camp IPA from Rockmill Brewery. Delicious. And let's go back to the beginning. Who are you? Where did you come from? How'd you get here in Columbus, Ohio doing real estate investing?
Yeah, so I'm Sean Grabow, 35. I moved to Columbus 2.5 years ago. I'd been working on a small business out in California for about 10 years prior to moving to Columbus. And before that, I grew up in Lansing, Michigan.
Okay. And what's your background? Like, what was that? What was the industry?
It was actually commercial cannabis.
Okay.
Yeah. So managing people, managing a lot going on.
Okay. Like operations or?
Yeah, it was a commercial operation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And from how long were you out in California?
10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you just said, fuck it, let's go to Columbus.
I was ready for something different. Industry was changing a lot in California at that time, and it just seemed like a good time to kind of get out. Mm-hmm. At that point, I knew I didn't want to work for anybody. I had to figure out a way that I could continue to kind of work for myself. And as I was doing that business, I had bought a couple, I was doing the owner, or I would go ahead, buy a property, live in there for 2 years, and then fix it up and sell after 2 years.
This was out in California?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did that. That was my only experience in real estate prior to moving to Columbus. So owner occupant, I'd buy a kind of fixer upper, live in it for 2 years, and then sell it, not having to pay the taxes for the owner occupied thing. Nice. So I did that for 2 cycles for 4 years. And yeah, so I'd made some money, a little bit of money, and had a little bit of understanding of real estate. And it seemed like the best option to, stay self-employed.
And you knew you were coming to Columbus and then chose real estate, or?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So once I decided on real estate, I went and just analyzed a bunch of different markets. I knew it was going to be hard to get a good start in California just because of the expense and everything. So wanted to find a market that I thought was growing and had the kind of good rent to purchase price ratio. It just seemed like a good property or a good city to hold rentals in long term. So,
so that is your long-term goal then, to hold stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And you had a significant other at the time, right?
I still do. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And she was on board?
Yeah, she was on board. Yeah, absolutely. The Midwest wasn't her first choice. She would have maybe preferred to stay out west.
Is she from California?
Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, she was 100% on board. She actually helped me start Central City. And
sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. She's still involved now, or kind
of? Limited. When we, kind of when she wants to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so tell me the name of your business again.
Central City Solutions.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Invest in 614 might be the one that other people are a little more familiar with.
Okay. And do they do different things?
Yeah, so Central City Solutions is our acquisition side, and then Invest in 614 is our disposition side. Okay.
So how do the mechanics work with 2 different LLCs from acquisition to disposition?
So Invest in 614, it's never on the title, or it never comes up. That's just where we do our marketing for buyers on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So just different functions, but the acquisition, the entity that holds title is your...
Always Central City. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Why'd you do that? And is that something you'd recommend?
So, if we're selling a property and we're not doing a lot of work on it, sometimes we'll do full rehabs. Sometimes it's, just cleaning it out. And if we're marketing a lot of properties, we really just, we don't want to come off as not doing anything to the property, that we're selling properties without doing anything. So
I see.
Just trying to create some separation there. Yep.
Okay.
And then, just, when somebody Googles Central City Solutions, we want them to see nothing about how we help homeowners and buy properties as is.
Okay.
And we don't want any of the kind of disposition side mixed in there.
I see. Okay. So I want to go down that road for a minute where you're talking about picking up a project, maybe not doing a ton of work, and then trying to disposition it or sell it. So recently we've had this phenomenon where we'll go to market with it. So you know what the wholesale strategy is, but basically we buy a property at a steep discount. We just clean it up, make it feel solid, and then put it right back on the market.
Yeah.
At a higher price. Real estate agents often will say, okay, we see that you bought it for this price. It doesn't look like you did a lot. Why is it that you are now selling it for this price? Or we're not going to pay this price because you bought it for this price and you probably only put this much amount of money into it or whatever. First of all, the market is the market. And what a property is worth is what it's worth, right?
Yeah.
And second of all, Mr. or Mrs. Real Estate Agent, you don't know what our costs were. You don't know what our disposition costs are or our fees or any of that. So that's very frustrating to deal with a real estate agent who just sees, okay, you bought it for 50. It looks like you put $5,000 into it. Now you're selling it for 100.
Yeah.
Now you're going to make 45 grand. Well, first of all, no, your math is wrong. There's a lot of stuff in there that you're not seeing. And second of all, stop it.
Yeah.
If it's worth $100,000 and your client wants to pay $100,000 for it, then that's all that matters.
Yeah. So do you experience that fairly often, or have you?
Recently we have.
Okay.
Recently we have. And it's, I think the first time I ran across it, it was kind of angering and frustrating. And then, in this market, if you're representing a buyer and you want to get cute like that, I mean, we got buyers lined up.
Yeah.
So,
doesn't seem like a good strategy.
No,
in
don't
this
bring
market.
me. Don't bring me that. Don't bring any of that stuff to me. But so that's interesting. I've never heard that splitting the LLC thing before, and that's. We want Central City Solutions. We want every bit of information about how we help sellers out, about how we acquire properties, people's past experiences. We don't want it colluded with our disposition side, because they really are, two different businesses. When we're dealing and trying to solve the problems with the homeowner, that's a lot different than, finding the owner occupant or the investor their next property. I can see that. I can see another reason why that's beneficial. If a homeowner is talking to Harvey about selling their property and then they go into contract with you and they think that you're going to be the one that buys it, and then they're on Facebook and they see Harvey's now trying to sell this property for $15,000 more than what we're in contract for.
Yeah.
That's a rough thing to explain.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Or if you have a history of having a lot of properties that didn't really have any work done to them, it's just creating the separation. I think it only helps. And then we're able to build our seller's website to function or to cater to their needs, seller or buyer's website to their needs. And, it just seemed to make more sense in creating that separation.
And at the end of the day, you're not really talking about much work or anything extra other than setting up an additional LLC, maybe a little bit different branding for the different LLCs.
Yeah. 2
different websites, and then making sure that your processes that there's a good handoff in between the 2 LLCs.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, we're all working under the same umbrella. It's just, it kind of does split up the team a little bit. But
that's interesting. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So I know from talking to you before, you're kind of like the acquisitions guru. Like you love talking about acquisitions because you're good at it, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that look like for you guys? What is an acquisition? So we'll start with that. And then how do you achieve one?
Acquisition is just purchasing a property. And I think the best way to do that is to create a relationship with the seller and figure out what they need. That's the core base. You're solving a problem or you're doing what somebody else can't do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But not always purchasing, right?
Not always. Not
so
always.
like if you like an acquisition could be an assignment. So it's really maybe a contract and not so much a
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're putting a property into contract and eventually getting that onto somebody else, or
Right.
closing ourselves, or holding, or rehabbing.
Yeah. Okay. And then I know a couple of years ago I had this dilemma, but how do I get in front of a seller? How do I even get there where I can find out what their problem is and offer a solution?
Yeah. That's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about, we're in a buyer's market, or a seller's market.
Yeah.
We're in a seller's market right now. So finding those deals are the really hard thing. So, it's not easy. Everybody wants to get into finding cheap properties. Everybody thinks, it's the way to do it without having to have a lot of capital. But I mean, we spend $25,000 every month on our marketing. So,
Yep.
I mean, that key to finding the deal, I mean, that's putting the money in and
spend money.
Yeah, spending money.
Yeah.
And trying to figuring out how you can reach people, how you can have, quality conversations with people who want to sell their house.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, if you were selling toasters or electronics, I mean, you have to spend money in advertising to get your product in the hands of people who need it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you were saying you guys have a list of 300,000 people that you can call, and the skip tracing bill for that alone is pretty hefty.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a big investment, but
right.
Yeah. That's, I think, kind of taking the step from, maybe doing somebody who's just themselves doing a deal or two a month by just grind and hustle, kind of how they make that move to maybe, doing a few deals a month and maybe having somebody help them out. I think the difference there is investing in your marketing so you can get in front of more sellers and find better deals.
That's the name of the game, right? I mean,
Without a doubt.
And you have your fundamentals of marketing, right? You have your cold calling, you have your mailing, and you have your texting. Do you guys do any like SEO or? Yeah,
we do some SEO, some PPC. We were doing PPC stuff, but we kind of paused that for the moment.
Yeah.
We got lucky and got connected with somebody who's been really good with SEO, and but yeah, we don't get too much from that, but yeah, we do have a good web presence as well.
Have you guys been 25 or 30K in marketing right out the gate, or have you kind of grown to that?
Oh, definitely grown to that. Yeah, okay. Without a doubt. I mean, started 2.5 years ago. It was, maybe a couple $100 or $500 a week in postcards. First year and a half, all I did was mail. And yeah, it's definitely been a gradual process.
Okay. Yeah.
Getting up there.
That makes sense. I mean, you have to start somewhere, and then as capital builds, and you can invest more.
Yeah.
Just like anything else. So like, what does your volume look like now?
We're putting between 8 and 10 in or closing on 8 or 10 contracts a month.
Nice.
Probably, putting 10 to 12 in contract per month. And obviously it goes up and down. We got hammered in April and May, and then June was our best month ever.
Us too,
so
man.
yeah. On average, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. So April and May, traditionally slow for you?
Well, only having one previous year of data, I don't think so. No, the only time I've really ever noticed a slowdown is in December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was doing some real estate acquisition before Josh Hively and I started a business, but December is always that month where we really want to acquire something that'll be to flip specifically so that we can do a 2-month rehab, have something on the market in March, right for the spring. Yeah. We've had success with that. In fact, I think maybe it's just because we focus on it, but December acquisition for us has been a little bit better maybe than early spring, I'd say, or late winter. But you're extremely successful in 2 years. Why do you think that is?
I mean, number one's like the people I work with, the team. Like me and you were saying before, I'm really good at a couple things and I'm really bad at most other things. But persistence, team building, hustle, talking to people. That's stuff that I'm good at, trying to kind of assess needs. But I'm sorry, what was it, man?
Just saying, like, how much you've grown, how successful you've been in 2.5 years or 2 years.
Yeah.
Why?
Surrounded myself with great people, man. That's number one. And just being relentless. When I first moved to town, all I did was work. I'd go on bigger pockets, and I found my rehabber, my buddy Matt, and I asked him if I could buy him lunch, and he let me buy him lunch. And then I asked him if I could work on one of his rehabs with him, because I had way more time than I had things to do. And shoveled a couple yards of dirt, built that good relationship. So
nice.
Just a hustle, getting out there and doing whatever it takes.
Yeah. And networking, right?
Yeah, networking's been huge.
Josh Ively says that our success is built on the back of relationships, and I know that you kind of agree with that too.
100%, yeah. And
do you think Columbus is unique in kind of the collaborative spirit amongst investors?
Yeah, I don't have anything to compare it to, but I know I wasn't expecting it at all. Like, what a tight knit community it is, and kind of, once you know one person, kind of, how everybody knows each other. I'm not sure if that's unique to Columbus, but it definitely caught me off, or it was a pleasant surprise, to learn that that's how it is here. Yeah,
I was surprised by it too. And I've not invested in any other market either, but I hear people who say that it's not just real estate. There's some sort of like Columbus collaborative spirit that goes into almost every industry that is here.
Yeah.
And it kind of contributes to why businesses want to move here.
Yeah.
Tax incentives help.
Yeah.
Too. But that's interesting. I definitely miss coin and deal maker sessions and, our newbie meetups and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So acquisitions, you have your direct mail, and you have your cold calling, texting, and SEO. I think you said cold calling's
been performing the best for us recently. Mail's just consistent. Mail's just always stays the same. It's good. I would never change the mail. Cold calling kind of goes up and down a little bit, but it's definitely cost per lead, cost per deal. Right. Nothing beats cold calling.
Right. So you said you were doing 8 to 10 deals a month, and then you just threw out another stat there about costs per lead and cost per deal.
Yeah.
Those are KPIs that sound like KPIs to me. What kind of things are you guys tracking? Are those some of it? Or?
Yeah. So those are cost per deal, cost per lead. We're tracking all kinds of stuff right now. Noah does a phenomenal job with our KPIs. So he's even so me as, if I'm calling sellers, I'm tracking, we have our VA go through our phone system, Ring Central, and he collects how many outbound text messages did I send that day? Okay. How many calls did I make? How many calls did I make over 60 seconds? How many calls did I make over 5 minutes?
Per person?
Yeah, per person. Okay. Really, within our call system, super easy for him to do. Okay. We track how many went into contract, how many fell out of contract, how many inspections do we go on throughout a week, how many personalized follow-up letters, emails are we sending. So those are some of the acquisitions KPIs. And then as far as our marketing KPIs, okay, so how much are we spending per channel? How many leads is that bringing in? How many leads does it take to get a deal within that marketing channel?
Per channel.
Yeah. What is the average, assignment fee, or what's a profit per each deal? Mm-hmm. All, per marketing channel, all that different stuff. So it's really, we were talking about this before, but it's really, it's going off of the data, obviously. You don't want to make emotional decisions. You want to make, decisions on data. So,
Right.
if you can look at all your marketing channels and see which ones are performing, trending upwards, which ones are trending down. Okay, if cold calling's doing great and texting's going down, why don't I take some of this texting money and put that into cold calling, hire an extra cold caller, not send as many texts per month. So that's one thing we've gotten way better at in the last 6 months, and tracking that data allows us to make better decisions on what we need to improve.
If you don't mind, what about is your leads per purchase? Or do you know?
How many leads
per purchase?
So originally, it has a big factor on what you track as a lead. So we originally you want to pause it? Or?
No, we're good.
Cool. So we originally used to track anybody that calls in or raises their hand and says, hey, I want to sell, that's a lead. These days, we only track leads that are more qualified. So it's not just somebody who wants, retail for a house. We're not going to count that as a lead anymore. There either has to be significant motive, even if they want market, they have to have significant motivation, or, they have to, maybe be 80% value or below. There's got to be some. Yeah.
So if somebody calls you off of a mailer and you determine that even if you go out to the house and you determine that they want full market value and there isn't a lot of motivation, that does not count as a lead.
There's no way we're going out to that house if they want full market value.
And you get that on the phone.
Oh, yeah. So trying to be protective of our time. We're not going to go out to an inspection unless, there's a potential for something to be there. And that's something I always tell the seller, hey, I would hate to waste your time if we're not kind of in the same ballpark. I don't want to waste your time's too valuable for me to come out there.
Okay, that's interesting. So your leads per purchase then are probably pretty low.
Yeah. So before, when we were tracking anything that kind of just raised their hand that they wanted to sell, we were about 20 leads to a deal. Okay. So now that we're more refined on what a lead is, now we're 12 to 1.
Okay.
But so your quality, so that's kind of the quality of leads are going to vary dramatically throughout your marketing channel. Somebody who you call up as a cold call, they're obviously less motivated than a person who's Googling, how do I sell my house in Columbus? So I think that was so before we started to actually qualify something to count it as a lead, before we were just getting insane amounts of leads of texting and cold calling, and that wasn't giving us accurate data because it costs us $5 to get a texting lead, but it costs us $300 to get a mail lead. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's some kind of disconnect there. So by qualifying what we actually consider a lead, that's made it to where we can compare apples to apples a little better. Yeah.
And channel to channel, you're going to have differences in the quality of lead just by the nature of the channel.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's, if you're tracking your profit per deal, you're probably going to see our mail deals and our SEO deals are on average bringing in, probably 20 or 30% of our cold calling versus our texting.
Because they're probably deeper purchases.
Yeah.
There's more pain there, likely. Deeper purchase, more profit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. You've mentioned Noah a couple times.
Yep.
And about how your success really is kind of attributed to the people that you surrounded yourself with. How did you find Noah?
So connected with Noah the same way I connected with Josh, was just randomly off of Bigger Pockets.
Okay.
I've actually made a lot of really good connections, even though I'm not active on there, through Bigger Pockets.
Yeah.
So when I first came, the first year I was in Columbus, I worked with a partner, and toward the end of that partnership, we hired Noah as our first employee.
Okay.
And then when we decided to part ways, Noah was nice enough to come and help me out.
Cool.
And so that was April 2019. And so when started, it was just me and Noah, and then Emily, my girlfriend, helping out. And so now from that, we've grown to Noah does our marketing. He's really he's an operator. He's a systems person. He tracks everything. He does project management. He does a million different things.
Jeez.
Heather is our disposition transaction coordinator, office manager.
Okay.
Her role is always evolving. Once I found Heather on Craigslist, just shot in the dark, got lucky. She knows more about real estate than I do in a lot of ways. So she's been a huge asset, somebody I really get to learn from.
Yeah.
We have Manuel who does acquisitions with us. We have Tori who helps Heather with her disposition and transaction coordinating. And then Tori just kind of does everything, bounces around, helps us out with acquisitions, kind of fills in. And so and then we have Luke who's lead manager. So Luke's just started off. Luke, he helped us drive for dollars all summer. And kid would drive 3 hours round trip every day to come help us out. So we figured we needed to kind of figure out a way to keep him on. So he's just starting to help us with acquisitions now.
And these are like full or part-time employees, or
they're full-time employees in the office.
Compensated by the hour or not on commission or anything? It varies,
yeah.
And then
about half commission, half.
What systems do you use to find, besides Craigslist and BiggerPockets, to find talent?
Yeah, so now I use WiseHire, and WiseHire will post on Craigslist. It'll post on LinkedIn. It'll post on Indeed. It'll has a lot of tools. It's just very efficient to go from 100 candidates to 5 candidates with all the screening they do for you. And I think I haven't used Indeed. I hear it's really similar to Indeed, but then it's just a little broader. It goes on a lot more channels than just Indeed.
Okay. And I think you were saying too, like if you say you're looking for a real estate acquisitions person or something, they kind of have a profile for personality or experience that they know means success for that position. And then they can kind of look for people that fit that mold. Yeah.
So if you're trying to, let's say, hiring an administrative assistant or acquisition person, so just to make it simple, say admin person, WiseHire will know what a real estate admin, like what an ideal range for their DISC test would be.
What's DISC?
Personality test. Tells you what you're good at.
DISC, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the DISC. So if administrative person, good admin person usually has this kind of range in their DISC test. It has every candidate fill out a DISC test. And so let's say you start off with 100 candidates, 50 of the candidates never even fill out the DISC test.
Right.
So right there, you're down to 50. Of the 50 who do, I would say maybe 10 of them are either excellent or above average candidates. And then, if you reach out to those 10 people, you're probably likely to, get 2 or 3 who are serious and are really good fits. So, and you could spend so much time on hiring and everything.
That's why companies have HR departments, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally a full-time job.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah. So WiseHire, I've used it 3 or 4 times. I don't think I would ever use anything else. It's a monthly service. I think it's like $200 a month.
Yeah.
And then you just cancel it as soon as you find your person. Right. And then it also saves all of your potential hires. So if that first hire doesn't reach out, you can go back to your pool of people that you were interviewing and have all of their information.
That's useful. We use Upwork, which I think is a little bit more like freelancer type employees or help.
Yeah.
So our VA who's in the Philippines, we use Upwork. For her, we found her through Upwork, which was handy.
Yeah.
But it also tracks all her work and her work diaries, and it's a payment system and it's secure for both people. I probably wouldn't do it if we had somebody like local in the office doing some of the stuff that you mentioned. But that's also a pretty good system.
Yeah.
Too.
We've used Upwork. We've used them for virtual assistants, and then just even like, if you want to find the absolute best person in the USA to consult with you on SEO for 2 hours, I love Upwork and Fiverr.
Yep, super handy. So that's kind of how you find talent now. But what was like the process, and how did you know when it was time to hire?
I think I usually figure it out a little late, but just kind of capacity thing. our deals falling through the cracks.
Okay.
It's something definitely always a work in process, just trying to figure out how to keep the team the most efficient. There are days where, I think, I got this office of 5 or 6 people, have all this crazy overhead.
Yeah.
I know people who do better than I do and are completely virtual.
Yeah.
So, it's a constant conflict in my own head, like,
Right.
But I think that when you can justify it, if I can justify spending an extra $3,000 a month on that person, is that going to allow me to get another deal or another couple deals every single month?
Yeah.
Is it,
Right. Yeah. I think I've heard a couple metrics on that too. Like if you hire somebody, that overhead addition should bring in about 3 times that overhead in revenue.
Okay.
For instance, I don't know if it's a real thing. I think it was somebody who's just like saying that, or like that's a metric they used. But to your point, I think if you hire somebody or you add overhead, it obviously should be able to translate into something on the top line, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I don't know what that should be or what it is or.
Yeah. And neither do I. I'm trying to figure it out, man. Getting better at it.
We try to track, I should say, total overhead to total volume as a kind of a metric to see like an efficiency of our overhead. And we include overhead being literally anything that's not associated with a specific project.
Yeah.
To what kind of volume we're bringing in.
Yeah. Just
so we can make sure that anything we're spending on advertising, for instance, which is probably a biggest portion of our overhead, is generating more volume. And volume's misleading, right? Because it's market driven. I mean, you can buy in Hilltop or you can buy in North Linden or you can buy in Dublin and your volume will be different, but volume drives our margin, and our margin, obviously our gross margin, and our margin drives our bottom line. So everything's based on the volume. Yeah, really, for us. So that's kind of a metric we've been playing around with. I don't know if it's going to be useful or insightful at all or not. Yeah. But it also helps us with our projections, because we know if our overhead to volume was 18 or 15 or something last year, and market prices aren't really changing, and we're spending this much, we can expect this many deals, then we can it helps us project into the future.
And that's that whole, going off of your numbers, making decisions on that.
Yeah, right. So we talked about how you're finding deals, kind of your mantra when you get in front of a seller. When you get something that you want to take down, actually purchase, how are you financing this?
Few different ways. Owner financing is obviously a big one for us. We do some hard money. I've just gotten to the point in the last 8 months where I'm starting to do a lot more rehabs and rentals myself. So the financing part is a piece I've been learning recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we do a lot of owner financing, a little bit of hard money.
Who do you use for hard money, if you don't mind?
I've used Fund That Flip once, and I've used a company out in Dallas. I'm spacing on what their name is.
Okay.
I think
a couple different hard money companies.
Yeah, that was early on. Recently, where Lending Home was the one. Other one we've used.
Yeah. Shout out to Dane at Lending Home.
But right now, so those were the first couple. Really working on a lot more on trying to build those private money relationships.
Yeah, right. Clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we Josh Hively is kind of our private money liaison guy.
Nice.
That guy's relationship building and networking skills he's like a black belt.
Nice.
In networking, yeah. Which is a handy thing to have on your team, right? Like, because that's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to pick his brain a little bit on technique.
Yeah. I need, most of it is, I think a lot of it is just his personality. And he is just a networking guy. Like, he's in the Facebook groups and he pays attention to them, and he's a big meetup guy. But then we use Salesforce mostly for our actual leads that come through for sellers and buyers. But then we've started to just leverage that system for people with money.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And the biggest benefit to that is a schedule for follow-up and touch points, because if you want to form a relationship, you're not going to have a relationship obviously on that first meeting where somebody's going to lend you $100,000, right? It's going to take multiple touch points, and also hitting them with content and saying like, hey, look at this. Look, we did this. We used private money on this deal. It went great.
Yeah.
You want to get in? Everybody wants to do real estate investing, but not a lot of people want to take the risk of actually buying a house and rehabbing it and then having to sell it. But if you can make 10 to 15% on your money by just lending to a competent operator, why not?
Yeah. One, I think the first private money I got was a Worthington deal we had, and to try to not knowing where to kind of even start with the private money piece, I was like, okay, well, let's just shoot this deal out because we got a screaming deal on it, which is people, because it's Worthington, and people are going to open this email. And then right at the very beginning, looking for lending partner.
Right.
And, where's our biggest resource of people who are comfortable and understand real estate and who likely are the ability to lend, and,
in your buyer's pool.
In our buyer's pool. So we sent that out to, 2,000 people, and, the next a few days later, had a spreadsheet of, 20 potential private money lenders.
Sweet. Yeah. Sweet. I lend. So
nice.
I would be open to that too.
Perfect.
Yeah. I forget what I was going to go with that. I think the owner financing thing is interesting because, one, we've never done it. B, it's like a bigger pockets podcast topic of like a low or no money down technique, right? So for instance, we're looking at this deal right now, and it doesn't make sense at the price the seller wants to sell it for. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It could make sense in something a little bit less than that. It probably makes sense somewhere in between if we can owner finance.
Yeah.
We don't know really what to offer, because a lot of times, at least in my experience, you say owner finance to an owner, they're like, what does that mean? And what does it look like for me? So how do you explain that to an owner? And then what's the going rate? Like if you were going to pay an interest rate to an owner on a purchase price, what does the term look like? What's the rate look like?
Yeah. So I would say, as far as explaining owner financing, layman's terms, like how would it feel, or, if you need $80,000, what if I could, and you owe 70 on it, what if I could pay you $10,000 and just start making your mortgage payments? They understand that makes sense. Like, okay, I get my $10,000 and you make my mortgage payments. Mortgage will stay in my name, but if anything happens, I'm secure. They understand that. But if you start saying subject to, and you start throwing all that terminology into, obviously it makes sense to you, but you're going to confuse them, and you're going to confuse them when you're trying to. If they don't understand it, they're not going to go for it at all.
And the deed, most of the times the deed transfers.
Yeah, almost always with the subject tos. And then as far as terms, I mean, I don't think I think, maybe in the last year we've done 15 different owner financing deals.
That's awesome.
And there was one that actually had interest. And it's not, interest isn't part of the discussion. It's like, if 80K is going to be where you have to be, the only way I can give you your price is if you can help me out with the terms. So.
And the reason is, okay, let me see, because I'm an idiot when it comes to this, but you say somebody wants $80,000.
Yeah.
Let's say it's a $100,000 property.
Yeah.
You need it to cash price right now, 60 or 65. But they need 80, for instance.
Yeah. Let's say we're closer. Let's say I'm at 72 as a cash price, and they won't budge off of 80.
They want 80. So you say, okay, I'll buy it at 80, but I need to pay you that 80 in 4 months.
So with the subject, so it all depends. And that's where owner financing is so difficult in your head. Like, that's why I struggle. It's so much easier than you think it is, but there's a million, the most difficult way to do it is there's a million different ways. If I wanted to buy your house and I wanted to do some creative financing, there's thousands of different ways we could structure this thing. So I think what's important is to realize what is the seller's, what is their need, and then, what is your need or your exit strategy. So as every property is so different. So
let's assume I'm not budging off of 80.
Yep.
And I own it outright. I don't have a mortgage.
Yep.
And I'm just old and I'm just tired of dealing with the property. But I'm not in a particular hurry. Eventually I want to be done with it. But I need 80 for whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're stuck at 80. I probably need to be at 72, 73 to kind of make my rehab work. What I might say is it's a kind of, let's say it's a light rehab. I'll be in and out of there in 3 months. I'll say, hey, seller, I can give you 80 grand, but the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I give you $5,000 at closing, and then I give you the other, 75, within 4 months. So we'll do a balloon payment. Balloon payment is going to mean the entire balance is going to be due at that time. So seller agrees to that. And so he gets his 80, but what I get is I would have had to go out and borrow that money. I would have had to go to, hard money lender, and
which might cost you $2 to $5 grand or something like that.
It's going to cost me $5 grand, and it's going to take up time. And it's, now you have appraisal, inspection, all that. Whereas if I can just deal with the hard money lenders, they want a lot of paperwork and they have a process. When the seller is your bank, you kind of dictate the process a lot more, and you're in control of how that goes.
Right.
You have a whole lot more options.
Okay.
So I'm going to save a lot of time. I'm going to make it more efficient. I'm going to only put $5,000 down.
Right.
Maybe I put $10K into the rehab. When property sells in 2 months, I pay the seller back early, and I never had to come out of pocket. So maybe I come $15,000 out of pocket, for a 90,000. Yeah, additionally.
But you could always borrow that $15K too. I mean, if you had a private money lender who maybe isn't going to lend 100 on the whole project, but they'll lend 15.
100%.
Yeah. That's cool.
So, I mean, there's the owner financing, there's just so many different options you have. So good example is recently, about 6 months ago, we bought a little 2-bedroom house in Central Hilltop. It was probably, if you would have thrown it on the MLS, you might have gotten $35,000 for it.
Yeah.
And we paid $36,000 for it. We paid above market price. And because once again, the seller is committed to this price. He, for whatever reason, he's lost some money on it. He has to get this price. I said, you know what? I can do this. What I'm going to have to do, the only way I can actually get you your price is going to be to put $2,000 at closing. And then I'm going to pay you the other $34,000 over the next 20 years. So, I'm paying maybe $230 a month for the next 20 years. And I mean, that's completely,
Did you hold it?
So actually I'm working on that one with I sold that to my contractor.
Oh, cool.
And we're kind of partnered up on that.
Okay, nice. So, I mean, if you can either pay $230 a month for the next 20 years or just pay them off.
Right? Yeah. And then.
What was the interest rate on that one?
No interest.
Oh my God. Who agrees to that?
Yeah. And so we thought for sure it was going to be that would be going to a landlord. Like a flipper is not going to buy that.
Right.
But, our contractor, he really wanted to do his own thing and not work for somebody else.
Okay.
So he said, if you don't make me come with anything down but the $2K, I'll pay this extra price. And then when the rehab's done, I'm sure we're going to go to the seller and say, hey, seller, what if I could give you $25,000 right now instead of doing that? And then we'll create a little bit extra.
Okay. And then you have an attorney who just draws up the paperwork based on your whatever terms you work out.
Title company does it. Yeah.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You just tell them, hey, this is the deal
So within the purchase agreement. Yep. So, and then in the purchase agreement, extremely simple, same thing. And then the title company will interpret it between you and
they draw up the note or whatever.
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
Nice. What title company do you use?
We use PM Title. We use Land Sell.
Okay.
We just started using Bridge Title.
Okay, cool. We use World Class Title almost exclusively unless somebody wants to use somebody else. Yeah, we use Kristen over there. It's been great.
Yeah,
been pretty great. That's interesting, man. I think that's that isn't something that just dawns on you like to offer. And you see, I mean, especially right now in a seller's market, you go to these buy appointments and they'll say, I already have an offer at X. And you're like, God, that's $20,000 more than we could ever pay for that.
Yeah.
You just think like either somebody's doing stupid deals or they know something that we don't know. And it's probably they're just doing something like that. It's just a little bit more creative than, our stupid asses can put together.
I think probably usually the most likely scenario is they're just paying way too much.
Do you think so?
Walk away from that contract.
Oh, okay. They'll just bail.
Yeah, for sure.
Or be okay with a thin margin, or
I mean,
hiding money.
I guess that's just what I mean. When somebody comes in way above what I could pay for it, a lot of times I assume, they told that seller the price they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And they're gonna just see if they can do something with it. But that's something that we've always been really important to us, is we only put out high quality deals, and we don't ever want to not perform. And that's a good thing too, having the rehab and the hold model as well, is I can confidently say, if it doesn't work, if I can't find a buyer for it, then, I know I can close on it and do a wholesale or something like that.
Which you have to buy deep.
Yeah.
You have to go direct to seller.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, do you buy from other wholesalers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any ones that you like work with constantly?
No. So I've just in the last 9 months, but I just recently bought a little house on Campbell from Adam. I can't remember Adam's last name. And then bought in a deal from Dan Wicklund.
Okay.
Bought in Deuce Slade. Nice. It makes sense.
Sweet. Yeah. Are you always canvassing, or do you have somebody canvassing the wholesale deals?
Nah, it's always just been I've gotten lucky. Jump on the Facebook group and it got posted 5 minutes ago, and I message the guy and say, hey, I don't need to walk. So those are the only ones I've ever got, is just like when it's an obviously screaming deal. And 2 out of the 4 times two of the times I can think of, it was just, I'll do EMD tonight. No
tonight.
Yeah. Because it's if I know it's a because he's going to have 10 other people trying to do it. It's the same psychology as a seller. If a seller has a really good deal, I assume that there's 5 other people trying to get that deal. And so I'm thinking, what can I do that nobody else is going to do? Whether it's writing a handwritten letter or
cash or no contingencies or.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And what is it? I'm trying to get into the seller's head. What is going to make me stand apart from these other people? If I'm constantly going up against 4 or 5 people, how can I just, persevere through past them? And so the same thing on the buying side. If somebody posts a property that they should have posted for 15 grand more, they're going to have every single one of us is going to be coming at them hard. So what can I do that nobody else is going to do? I'm going to offer an EMD,
quick close,
over
no contingencies. Yeah.
What do we need to do to send the assignment over today?
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes you get in front of a seller and they want what they want. There's no actual pain. They're creating a bidding war just to create a bidding war. And I mean, in those situations, I mean, at least for us, I mean, we're probably not the answer for them.
Yeah.
We're just not going to.
I'll just tell them like, hey, that is an amazing offer, and I really hope they perform. From my experience, sometimes things don't always work out. And I just want you to know if things don't, I'm not always the highest bid, but a lot of times people come back to me because my offer is real and it's actually going to close.
Right.
So,
yep. That's the same kind of spiel we give sellers too.
Yeah.
So what's the end game, man? Where are you heading?
I'm trying to work on rentals right now. Try to figure that game out. Try to figure out the financing piece.
to a certain end, or?
You know, I don't have an end goal right now. I would like to be able to work remotely. That's probably like next year or two. I would like to work outside of Columbus. Obviously keep the business in Columbus, but be able to maybe move back out west or just kind of travel, work on the business more, as everybody says, but, you know, kind of change my role a little bit. That's a goal. Just to learn, man. I'm good at acquisitions and I like understand the things that I understand, but there's just so much. I just know such a small piece of real estate. So I'm just fascinated about it. Love it. I just want to keep learning it and trying to figure it out.
Where's your feeding trough for real estate knowledge?
It changes a lot. So at first it was bigger pockets, you know, 6 months before I decided to really jump in, listening to all the podcasts, reading everything. The networking, like we said, just trying to be around people who know more than I do and just trying to figure out what I can do to help them, create value. And then I'd say more recently, I've been in 2 different masterminds. And
which masterminds?
So I was in Mark Evans' mastermind a couple years ago, when I first started.
Did you like that?
Yeah, it was great. Oh man, Mark's excellent person to learn from, and yeah, he's great.
Cool.
And then the Investor Fuel out of Dallas, Texas is
nice. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's really good. So John Martinez is one of the co-founders. Mike Hambright, Don Ross, the guy who does launch control texting. So a lot of big industry people are in there, but it's pretty small. It's there are 2 different groups. One group's I think maybe 75 each group.
And you guys are just sharing ideas, or is it?
Yeah. So meet 4 times a year, and you know, different panel discussions. And then everybody always does a presentation, kind of where they're at, kind of, you know, we all go over KPIs, goals from the previous session, lots of networking, just trying to get to know everybody. And it's, you know, I think it's really powerful being the small fish in the big pot. Like, you know, anytime you can surround yourself with people who are been doing what you're doing, you know,
and you actively seek that out.
For sure.
Yeah. I wish there was more of that around here. It doesn't, maybe there are masterminds, but I just wish there was a group of entrepreneurs, and you had to be real estate related, where, you know, you just get around people. And
maybe it's a little easier to bring people out to more exotic places in Columbus, a little warmer.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just found out we have the Highlights office is in Grandview.
The Highlights office.
The Highlights magazine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you're a little kid with a little...
Yeah.
It's in Columbus.
Oh.
So that's pretty sweet. Probably not much longer. I just want to make sure, maybe some personal stuff, like what you do in your free time.
Yeah.
Do you have free time?
And then, free time. Yeah, totally. So free time, I love the outdoors. I love to snowboard, backpack. I just got back from Alaska 2 days ago. I was doing some salmon fishing. And
where'd you go?
Denali Park.
Okay.
For the first week, and then Kenai Peninsula for the last 2 days.
Nice.
Yep.
Sweet.
I like drinking beer and talking real estate. That's a big passion. I love to travel.
Okay.
That's probably number 1 for me. And
nice.
Spending time with the lady and the pooch.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah.
So what else on the personal side? Like, what are you working on?
What am I working on, man? Trying to get in good shape, trying to work on doing my morning routine every single morning.
So what's that look like, your morning routine?
Try to just kind of meditate, clear my head for the first 10 minutes. What does a perfect day look like? What am I going to do to achieve that perfect day?
Yeah.
Journal for 10, 15 minutes, and then try to do some kind of reading or exercise. Normally I've been trying to combine them and do some cycling, listening to some podcasts or something like that.
How long have you been doing that routine?
I've been working on it for maybe the last 5 months.
Okay.
And it's hard, man.
It is, man. It's always evolving too. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like, so you lose it, but you always go back.
Yeah, totally. It's, I think my as far as personal development, I've gotten a lot better progress, not perfection. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm always going to backslide.
It's a journey.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
So
Right on. What time does that require you to get up in the morning?
when I'm on it, probably I like to get up at 5.
Nice. Yeah.
And then still kind
Nice
of
and dark.
be done with everything by 7:30, get up to the office.
Yeah. I'm really interested in that, just because a lot of successful people, especially in the real estate community, harp on routine, especially morning routines.
Yeah,
Do you think it contributes to your success and to your productivity?
absolutely, man. I without a doubt, I think just having the meditation, just thinking of, just being, just the awareness that it kind of brings, and the discipline. I mean, if I'm thinking about what I want to do every day and how I'm going to do it, and then writing and reflecting, and then taking in knowledge, because, if I'm reading or listening to a podcast, it's always real estate or business or entrepreneurship. So, I mean, I don't, and there's no way that can't be a huge advantage if you're going to go ahead and invest an hour and a half into your health and, into your, education every morning. Yeah, without a doubt. Huge.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those things that is hard for people to start and keep just because you don't see immediate benefit, right? Maybe not right off the bat.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like anything, not anything else, but a lot of things like networking or, a lot of other things where the benefit isn't immediately there. You have to kind of stick with it, or even like marketing, for instance, like a mailing campaign. Maybe you won't get any leads in the first month or two, but it's only successful if you keep with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The slight edge, or, making small
little improvements
over time.
What are you reading? Or any recommendations of like favorite books?
Oh man. As far as, the EOS, the EOS Traction.
Okay.
That's a big one. Have you read Traction?
I haven't.
I know we were talking about systems and trying to be more efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Have you read the 4-Hour Workweek?
I have, yeah. Tim Ferriss is he's one of my on the podcast rotation.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is the Traction and 4-Hour Workweeks kind of similar, or
so it's way more. So are you familiar with the E-Myth?
I am.
Yeah. So Traction is a little bit more updated E-Myth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's there's a few different books besides Traction. So Traction's based on EOS is their system, entrepreneur operating system, creating efficiency, mapping out your business, working on your business, not in your business.
Yeah.
All the stuff that's super hard to achieve.
Really hard, man. Your to-do list is like 1,000,000 miles long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a big one. We're actually bringing in a coach to help us try to implement that in a couple months.
Right on.
They're going to fly in here for 3 days and just try to tear us apart and rebuild us stronger. So, yeah.
You movie or TV guy?
Oh, not too big. I'll do some Netflix binging, man. Let's see. I don't want to mention it. It's mostly stuff that the lady has me watching now. So
sure.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it at all.
What about sports?
Man, I grew up East Lansing, Michigan, so I'm a Spartan. So I like college basketball, but not too big into sports. Man, every year I get a slightly less. I used to be super into it, and every year my interest in it goes down a little bit. I love me some live sports too. Though, so.
Oh, me too. Yeah, any sport really. I was telling somebody the other day, with COVID and not having sports for a really long time this spring and summer, I kind of just got used to just not having it, and I don't know if I missed it too much. Like if football never came back, sorry Ohio State fans, but I'm not sure that it would be. I think we would just move on to something else.
I wonder how sports is one thing, but how much stuff we've been missing the last few months that we're not going to go back to.
Yeah, and maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how things shake out the next couple of years with all of this.
Yeah, I agree. Like in-person school. My kids, I have 3 kids, and they're all going to be here for school, which would be
exciting.
Running a business and teaching first grade would be great. Yeah. Luckily, we are going out to the desert. We're going to Nevada for October to March. So we're just going to get way more sunshine. And
you're moving out there for the summer or for the winter? Just
for the winter, we're going out. We got Airbnb. We got some friends out there.
What?
Yeah.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Nervous about working remotely?
I am a little bit. We've taken mini trips over the last year or so. I've been working really hard just to get people. The only thing I need to cover really, just because of the way our business is structured with me and Josh, the only thing I need to cover is I'm the primary acquisition guy. So I'm going on the appointments. I can do all the follow-up virtually, obviously. And I just we are currently training a couple guys to cover down on the appointments for us. And, other than that, I mean, can do anything from anywhere.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear how that goes. What part of Nevada?
In Vegas.
Vegas, cool.
Yeah. So we're going to take 7 days or something and drive out, pretty much drive through the night all the way through Nebraska and then get to Colorado and hang out and see the sights and skip the Ohio winter.
That's super. I'm envious of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we looked at it and we said, this hopefully will not happen ever again with school-age children. I mean, hopefully next year they're in school.
Yeah.
So they're going to be virtual, man. Let's get the hell out of here.
Just make an opportunity out of it.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah, we're excited. So, but yeah, man, anything else?
Oh, man, I appreciate the opportunity to chat, and thanks for the IPA, man.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for, I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for coming out and chatting with us. And where can we connect? Where can people find Sean? Man, anybody can reach out to me. Phone number 614-696-2657. Can email me, find me on Facebook, whatever. And hopefully soon we'll see you around meetups. Yeah, absolutely. I really look forward to it. I see all the group of guys haven't been able to connect with that recently. One last thing, if people want to, for instance, hear about the deals you have or want to get on your buyers list, is there check out process for that? Investin614.com. Okay. And then there's a spot to sign up on our buyers list, and then you can also reach out to Tori or Heather directly, and their information's on there. So, right on. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed our first episode of Beers and Business. Again, this was the Rock Mill IPA, the new one called Camp. And we sat down with Sean Grabow today to talk about a lot of stuff in his business, his real estate business, where he's absolutely crushing it. So hopefully you picked up his contact information if you want to reach out to him. If you want to reach out to us, my name again is Harvey Yergin. My phone number is 614-448-5144. And my email address is harvey.yergin@homevestors.com. I also want to give out a shout out to Brian from Fairy Tale Films. He does all of our video stuff. He does our listing photos. And this is Brian right here. He'll put his contact information at the end of this video too. But if you want some high quality photos or some video content for any project you got going on, reach out to him. Extremely professional, very competent, and reasonably priced. But until next time, see you guys later.